Okay, I believe I'm now starting to share on this for a while. Okay, it's not yet sharing. All right. So I believe you can now already see my first slide for the presentation. So let me formally welcome everyone. Welcome back to our first week for week B. Hopefully, we're now really ready to take the final quarter for this school year. So before we start that, of course, we need to acknowledge our experiences for the previous quarter. So let's take a few probably seconds or a minute on how your third quarter experience was in for Science B. All right. So of course, I think most of you already have seen this infamous or famous trending meme online. So of course, we have three options here. So whether it's a sad experience, a meh experience, or a confident experience. So type in the number one for sad, two for meh, and then three for confident. So based on what you have experienced for Science B, don't worry, I will not take it against you. We're simply what do you call this? Checking your feedback regarding, of course, when you say about the experience, it could also include the topics, whether you find it sad, difficult, or you find it very easy. That's why you're very confident. Again, you can type in the number one for sad, two for meh, or three for confident on our comment section. All right. Okay, we have Miles two, Candy two, Ira, Sophia, Kate, Jade, Pauline, Rupert, Gab, Marinelle, Lawrence. Okay, two. Meh. Okay. How about the rest? So neither sad nor confident, just in the middle. How about those people who have extreme experiences, whether extreme sad, not happy, or extreme confident, meaning you're very happy with your experience sa Science B? Wala. So I think majority of you, if not all of you, those who are inside the Google Meet said or rated our experience as meh, too. Okay. Thank you so much for your honesty. So let's now continue. So for this quarter, we this is still under biology, but this time we will be focusing now on um, genetics and heredity. So of course, since we're starting a new chapter, it's very important that of course let's have a what you call this a recap in the things, and of course we are able to connect what you've learned from grade 8 and how it will be applied here in grade 9. So this particular session, we have the from parents to offspring. This is based on chapter 3, specifically on page 57. So of course, if you talk about genetics and heredity, one basic question that probably you might ask yourself is that what common observable traits do you share with your parents at the same time you share or observe among your other siblings? Now, when you talk about genetics and heredity, of course, it directly talks about certain inheritable or traits that then can be inherited from from parents to offspring, and of course, this is made possible because of um, the genetic material that is passed down from one generation to the next. Now, it's very important that even if we share 50% of our genetic material with our siblings and of course with our parents, it doesn't mean that we are more or less a replica of one another. Every person is considered to be unique because we are a product of combination of different traits. So in this module, we will learn how certain traits are passed from one parent to their offspring. So, our objective for this afternoon is actually very simple, and that is to review and identify important terms and processes involved in genetics and heredity. So, some of these terms or processes you have already encountered in your grade 8, wherein you had your first um, exposure to genetics and heredity. Especially, you had your monohybrid, your Punnett square, and other things. So hopefully, you can still remember some of these terms later on. So first of all, make sure that you download and have a copy of our first, second to the last module. So second to the last module for this school year, it's already available on our class card. It's the very first or the topmost entry under the activities tab. So our first and important activity this afternoon is what we call as traits bingo. So if you have already gone through the the first module or our module for this part of the quarter, you already know that our activity is called traits bingo. So let me go through the instruction. Okay, in this activity, you're going to color off or crush out squares uh, corresponding to the questions about your traits. So the following are the instructions that you need to observe in doing this activity. Number one, let me ask everyone to please prepare a piece of paper and a pen or any coloring materials that you have right now. Again, I'll give you a minute to get a paper and a pen for our activity later. So later on, I will be asking you to submit um, your color bingo, your accomplished trait bingo at the end of our session. I will be asking you to send it to me as a PM, okay, sa messenger. All right. So what you need to do is you will be creating using that pen and paper a 5 by 5 bingo card. Don't worry. Don't worry. I'll be giving you time later on to create this. I'm just informing you the steps. So again, please create 5 columns by 5 rows. Okay. As shown on the picture on the side. So in every box, what you need to do is that you need to randomly write down a word or phrase based on the given statements below. So, what are the possible statements? Number one, you have mother, father, aunt, dimples, attached earlobe, detached earlobe, can tongue roll, cannot tongue roll, curly hair, straight hair, allergies, right-handed, left-handed, cleft chin, straight hairline, and freckles. Again, so on your bingo card or the trait bingo that you will create, that which is 5 by 5, you will scatter or randomly place any of these phrases on each box. Some of these phrases, if you want, you can repeat it more than twice, okay, as long as you have already covered all of the available boxes or squares in your trait bingo. Okay, so please do not write anything, do not mark your squares. Only, again, the instruction is just create the 5 by 5 and then input or write down the individual phrases as I've mentioned a while ago. And then after that, just if you're done, just wait because there are other instructions later on that wherein you will be using your bingo or your trait bingo. Okay, so the teacher will continue to read bingo questions until a student obtains a bingo following either horizontal or vertical line. So for those who are able to create a pattern, one straight line vertically and then we have horizontally, will get the chance to win this activity. All right. So I'll be giving you 15 minutes to create your trait bingo. Okay, any questions or clarification before I set the timer regarding the instruction? Hello, anyone? No more question?
Answer.
No more. Okay, so let me now activate the timer so that we can start. Okay, it's not. Okay, let me activate the timer. Why is this not playing? Okay, anyway, I'll use na lang my let's use a timer here. Okay, this timer is already starting on the screen. So you're given 15 minutes to create a bingo with a 5 by 5 number of columns, 5 rows, 5 columns. And then what you do is, of course, write down randomly on each squares any of the statements I've mentioned. If you need the statements, it's actually found on our module under session 1, week 1, session 1. Okay, time is up. So I hope you're now ready for our actual activity for this afternoon, wherein we will be using what you just made for our trait bingo. All right, so let me go back to my presentation. All right. So may I see the hands of those who have accomplished their trait bingo again? For the please kindly so that I know who among you are now ready. Okay, again, kindly activate your raise hand so that I know if you're ready for our for next part of our session. Okay, how about Ira and let me see. Ian, Ira. Ian, how about Ian? Are we ready now so that we can start? All right. So I believe everybody already activated their raise hand button. So we're now ready. Okay, let me go back to my presentation. Okay. So let's now use your bingo. All right. So it's up to you whether you will shade your bingo with a different color or you will simply mark it with an X if you are able to, or if a certain trait that I will be mentioning later on, it's found on your trait bingo. Again, um, the how to determine if you're the winner, it's either you are the first person who are able to create a pattern, a vertical or a horizontal line, a straight horizontal line across your bingo card. Okay, so let's play. Let's start with the first entry. So mark your bingo if you have color the square or mark the square if you have written straight hairline. So an example for this is the hairline, of course, of a famous celebrity who is now talked about several times in social media, the former wife of the Yeezy, founder of Yeezy. You have Kim Kardashian na siya, hindi na siya West. Kim Kardashian, wala nang apelido. Right? So mark your trait bingo. Follow next. Mark your bingo if you wrote freckles. Okay, freckles. So freckles are not only limited to females, but it's also observable among males. Okay, next. So far we have two. So mark your square if you wrote the characteristic of being left-handed. Left-handed. Okay, so far three. Okay, next, let's have another. Okay, Lawrence. No, wala man siya nato sa option. So it's either left or right because you were given the options man to what characteristic you will write on the square. So if you wrote left, left. If you wrote right, right. But for now, what we randomly chose here as the winning combination lugar sa bingo is simply left-handed. All right. But there is a characteristic wherein an individual can actually or has actually two dominant hand, the left and the right. All right. Right. Okay. Let's go to the next. If you wrote the word father on one of your squares, color or mark it. So far, we have already four. Four. Okay. We already marked four squares. Okay. Next, we have number fifth. Okay. Can roll tongue or tongue rollers. Okay. Is it found on your bingo trait or bingo card? Okay, any winner so far? We have five traits already. Anyone who have formed a trait? Wala. So that means we will continue for the next set of characteristics. Okay? Wala pa? Wala pa. All right. Let me remove na lang the raise hand in case somebody already wins. So I'm now deactivating your raise hand. Okay, so that if I continue with the characteristics, if ever you are able to create the pattern that we are looking for, then simply activate the raise hand button, right? Next, let's have allergies. Okay. If you wrote the word allergies on one of the squares, kindly mark it or color your bingo card. So far, naanay winner. We're now on the sixth characteristic. Wala. Okay, wala pa may nag-react. So that means wala pa yung winner. Okay, how about attached earlobe? If you wrote attached earlobe. Winner so far? Any winner? Wala pa Japon? Okay, next. Let's go to the next characteristic. Okay, cliff chin. An example for this one is, of course, Adele. Before, of course, probably she had it already kanang modified ba? Tawagan na surgically modified. But before, when she was starting her career, it's really prominent that she has a cleft chin. John Travolta is also an example for this characteristic. So, cleft chin. There's a space or murag dimple or dent on the chin. Okay. Anyone winner so far? Wala. Okay. Next, let's have curly hair. Okay, sana all. Inana kagwapo kung curly. Dili kalkag, right? But if na ay humid, of course, kalkag kayo ang curly hair. So, wala. So, winner? Wala pa yung winner? Wala pa. Okay, next. How about dimples? An undeveloped muscle or facial muscle creating a dimple. Anyone? Winner? Naabay winner for so far? Wala Japon? Wala pa ring winner? Ang ma-form is either a line left to right or a line top to bottom, just a straight line. So dapat na 5 consecutive squares across. So ana or ana lang. So far wala pa winner with that pattern on their bingo trait. Wala. Okay, basin walay winner for this section. Okay, hair and hand. Okay, let's okay, how about the ones who for those who wrote the word mother on their square? Mother. Okay. Let's do this faster. How about detached earlobe? Detached earlobe. Wala. Okay, next. Okay, Pauline is now, we have now two winners. We have Pauline and Candy together with Marinelle. So thank you so much. We have Marinelle, Pauline, and Candy. Okay, don't worry. Marinelle, Candy, and Pauline will get 5 points, while the rest will get 4 points if you are able to. Of course, this is just a matter of chance, man. So it's not fair, di ba na dako kayo ang gap sa winner or non-winner because it's a matter of chance. Anyway, but you can only get that score if you are able to send to me the copy of your uh, trait bingo. So please message me via messenger and send a copy or a picture of your um trait bingo. Is that clear to everyone? Okay? That's the only time that you will get the 5 points, Marinelle, Candy, and Pauline. And those others who were not fortunate to win this activity, you'll get 4 only if you are able to send a picture of your trait bingo. All right. So thank you so much for your participation. So let me move now. So we already have our winner. So hopefully you're able to remember some of the important terms that you have encountered um, during our trait bingo. So it's very important that, of course, we need to understand when you talk about traits. So traits are distinguishing qualities or characteristics that are, of course, observable or expressed on an organism or a person. So examples for these traits are we have our hair color, eye color, height, skin color, dimples, hair types, and etc. Now, take note, alleles and traits are sometimes interchangeably used. So let us understand what's the difference between a trait and an allele. A trait is the overall characteristic. Generally, it's considered as the category. When you talk about alleles, these are the options or the variations of a trait. So example, if the trait is talks about hair color, okay, so we're talking about natural hair color. Of course, it's easy for us to change our hair color, but let us say we're talking about natural hair color. That's the trait, okay? But when you talk about alleles in relation to hair color, you can talk about having red hair, blonde hair, brunette, or you can also have, especially in Asian countries, we have black hair. Okay, so again, the trait is the category. So it's generally the bigger umbrella. Example, natural hair color. What are the options or available variations of this characteristic? You can have a ginger hair or red hair. Then you have blonde, brunette, shades. Actually, there are a range of different brunettes, and then of course black. So I hope that's clear to everyone. The difference between trait and an allele. Now, heredity is very important because this refers to the genetic heritage of a or the trait and how it is passed down from biological parents to their offspring. Now, when you talk about genes, it is actually considered to be the physical and functional unit of heredity. It is also commonly known as the genetic material or the vehicle or yes, the vehicle or the medium where DNA or the genetic material is embedded, right? You have the double helix. And then, of course, when you talk about chromosome, it's the thread-like structure. If you remember your meiosis and mitosis, the involvement of chromosomes, these are the structure that are organized and they actually are packaged DNA found inside the nucleus. So this is the structure that actually houses your DNA, and this package actually is found inside the nucleus because this is, of course, if you learn that during cell division, this material is actually the template for the reproduction of more cells in the body, either in the form of meiosis for sex cells, and then, of course, you have mitosis for the body cells. And these chromosomes are actually made up of proteins. Majority of our genetic material are made up of proteins. That's why these proteins are essential in terms of the manifestation. So the proteins actually dictates um, the characteristics, how they are manifested on the organism. So when I say organism, it talks about plant, animal, and of course humans. Now, what about the dominant gene? So if you remember, there are two distinguishing alleles. And these alleles, depending on their influence over the other alleles, they can be either superior and the other one is considered to be less favorable or less observable in the environment. So when you talk about dominant gene, this is the particular gene wherein it's considered to be more dominant, more strong, or more prevalent, meaning pabalik-balik siya or manifested on a group or a population. So it is considered to be superior other than the other possible version of that particular trait or characteristic. Now, of course, if you have your dominant allele or your dominant gene, if you remember, its counterpart, which is considered to be contrasting to the dominant, is your recessive gene, wherein it is either masked or hidden if ever there is a presence of a dominant gene. So if you remember, um, the alleles are actually contrasting to one another. Example, straight and curly, long and short, red and white, unsa pa man, wrinkled and smooth, round and dented, or unsa pa man ang mga characteristic. Usually, a set of trait has two contrasting alleles, and as when you say contrasting, they are usually opposite to one another. And because they are also contrasting, another important thing that we need to remember about these alleles is that one is considered superior. That's why it has the ability to hide or mask the other one, which is considered inferior. Okay? So examples of these traits. So you have your attached earlobe. Some of them are categorized or identified as dominant or recessive. So example, let's talk about right-handedness. So right-handedness doesn't mean that it's a characteristic that is considered to be superior. However, what makes this dominant, okay, the word superior there is loosely used because when you talk about dominance here, again, another important thing is that this is, of course, the characteristic that is predominantly, meaning kadaghanan na naa sa population has this particular characteristic. So example, sa humans, of course, right-handedness, our dominance in terms of our hand. It doesn't mean that right-handed is kanang better than left-handedness or left-handed people. It's just that in terms of the population, we have more individuals that are right-handed than left-handed. And of course, because our society favors the majority, some of the tools, gadgets, or other parts of our society, even our kanang doorknob, when you open, 'di ba mas difficult siya sa left-handed na mga people. Even when you write your notebook, I mean, the notebook that we are using here in the Philippines, ha, because naman po other notebooks na lahi ang ilahang orientation sa ilang spring. But of course, it's difficult for left-handed people if they use the typical notebook that is readily available in our market. But right now with the innovation, some of the gadgets are now ergonomically designed, not only for right-handed people but also left-handed people. So example, freckles. Of course, it depends on you whether if you take this as a negative characteristic or not. Those who do not have freckles, if you are familiar with TikTok and other social media, di ba na anagaling makeup product that they actually try to imitate or kanang, yes, imitate or replicate the looks of freckles on the face. Sa una, grabe ang tabon sa mga tao with people with freckles, but now it's considered beautiful or more attractive. Another example, tongue roller. Oh, okay. I don't know, it depends on you whether you find it interesting to note that somebody has this characteristic. I don't know, unsa iyang um, direct application in our life. So dimples, of course, dimples are actually considered biologically kanang it is described as an undeveloped muscle. That's why there is a depression sa dimple. So by that description, it is actually negative unta. But in our society, if you have dimples, you are actually considered attractive. But in terms of biological standpoint, that dimple is actually there because a segment or a portion of your muscle is underdeveloped. Munang naa siya'y depression or there's a hollow spot when you try to engage that set of muscles on your face. So again, when you talk about traits or characteristic, it doesn't mean that one is more beneficial more favorable. But sometimes these traits are identified as dominant or recessive solely because they are predominant on the society, meaning pabalik-balik sila. It's more observable than than its counterpart. Okay? So check up time, everyone. It's now 5:01, 11, 10, wait, 150. So, okay, sorry, 150. So let's have a mode meter. Okay. You have there, okay, one for green. If you find yourself under the green um, category of the mood meter. And then we have two for yellow green and yellow for three, then four for orange and five for red. Again, based on your overall activity or overall experience here for our session one, just by typing your on the comment section, one for green, two for yellow green, three for yellow, four for orange, and then five for red. Okay, kindly type your number on the comment section before I leave. Okay, so we have one so far. Okay, we have your response coming from Miles, Candy, Ian, Marinelle, Ira, Rupert, Pauline, Lawrence, Aliana, Jade, Kate, Sophia, Vaughn, and Gab. Okay, so please don't forget the module is already available on our class card. It's found on the topmost entry of our under the activities tab. And of course, for those who want to get extra points, those Candy, Marinelle, and Pauline will get 5 if they are able to send their copy of their trait bingo, while the rest, you'll get 4, again, if you're able to send a copy of your trait bingo. Okay? So I think that's it for this afternoon. See you tomorrow for our session 2. Any questions, clarifications, or violent reactions